Well, hello there, everyone. This is our first live stream of the 2022 election cycle. My name is Heidi Sieck, and I'm the CEO and co-founder of Vote Pro-Choice. We're the political home of the nation's pro-choice majority, and we were founded in March of 2016 to empower pro-choice voters and to endorse great pro-choice champions and to work in partnership. So today I am so delighted to be introducing to our audience, or you probably already know, but for you to all learn more about our partner Collective PAC, who's been with us since the very beginning. So today I want to introduce to you Stefanie. Please tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hi, Heidi. Thank you so much for having me on your first live stream of the year. I feel very honored, especially as it's Women's History Month. So it's always good to be in conversation with you. Appreciate the partnership. We were founded around the same time, our organizations. The Collective PAC was started in the fall of 2016, and we were created as an organization to make sure that we support Black candidates running for office all across the country on a local, state, and federal level. When my husband Quentin and I created the Collective PAC, we really wanted to be that helpmate for Black candidates, to help them fundraise, to help them spread their message far and wide about why they wanted to be in office, but also to make sure that we could bring equity to democracy, that we can have Black folks represented in every single body of government in this country in an equitable way. And so now almost 6 years later, we have not only the Collective PAC, but we've grown to encompass 2 super PACs, as well as a 501c3 and a 501c4 organization. So we're trying to do it all to make sure that we can build Black political power.
Yeah, let's talk about the moment that we're in. For me, having been in reproductive rights work for the last 30 years, since I think it was the early 90s, like you, I know that all the new horrible things that people think are happening they've been going on for many decades. But we're seeing an intensity and an increasing egregious assault on reproductive freedom in our state legislatures. Now we know that the Supreme Court could potentially overturn Roe as soon as this summer. It's not good. It is really not good. And people are being forced to stay pregnant against their will. This is a major social justice, racial justice, human rights problem. And we know that systems of oppression of any kind are deeply connected. But, like you said, we're in Women's History Month this month. We celebrated Black History Month last month. And we've got the confirmation of Judge Brown Jackson happening right now. So there's horrible things and there are hopeful things. And I just was wondering, as we set up this conversation about our political action and what we can do about this, I'm wondering if you have some reflections on this moment, the context of history and the context in our society.
Yeah, whenever I think about history and think about some of the challenging times that we're in, I always go back to thinking about my parents who were born and raised in Jackson, Mississippi in the 1950s. Ultimately ended up coming to Cleveland, Ohio. But, I can imagine, and from the stories that we've shared as a family, of their experiences growing up in Mississippi, deep in the heart of the segregation era. Not that we're too far away from it, but, I think about my life and the life that my parents have been able to provide for me and the progress that has been made. But it makes me extremely upset and just sometimes baffled that, some of the rights that my parents, especially my mother, what she didn't have, what Black women didn't have in the 50s in Mississippi, remain the same rights that Black women in Mississippi don't have in 2022 and in Texas and in Ohio and across this country. And so, I'm always kind of keeping one eye on the past and one eye looking forward, because if we don't continue to push forward, we know that we're going to have folks who continuously work very hard to drag us back to a time when women weren't free, when Black women weren't free. and when we were just in a constant state of oppression. And so, I'm that kind of glass half full type of person. And so when I look at the confirmation hearings of Judge Jackson that are taking place now, to see her parents in the courtroom yesterday as she gave her opening remarks, as she is poised to become the first Black woman to serve on the U.S. Supreme Court after 233 years, is quite remarkable. But we know that we need her there. We need her voice. We need her wisdom. We need her commitment to the Constitution, because we are facing scary times in the decisions that the Supreme Court has already made and what they are preparing to make. So if anything, I am just very dogmatic that we have to be proactive. We have to continue to fight. We cannot let our foot off the gas in any kind of way. And we have to continue to be the champions for our communities, because so many folks don't have the voice amplified in the way that they should. Everyone has a voice, whether it is amplified and heard, whether that chair is pulled up for them at the table. That's our job, to make sure that those things happen so that we're all fairly represented.
I could not agree with you more. And often the way we think about things at Vote Pro-Choice is that so many folks look to the Supreme Court as the protection for reproductive freedom. And the fact is, the Supreme Court is the last stop.
Right.
Because so much has happened before it gets to the Supreme Court. And what has happened is that these horrible anti-choice lawmakers are making oppressive laws because that they've been moving into positions of leadership. One of the things that's so frustrating is that I often call it the overly funded anti-choice minority has been investing in these down ballot leadership pipelines for decades, 30 years. And it is folks that are at the local and state level. I first came up in politics working on Kamala Harris's first district attorney race when she was running in a primary. And this was a Black woman pro-choice champion who was taking on a powerful incumbent. And she had a new vision, a new voice, and she won. And I really learned then how important it is to be lifting up new voices in leadership. And that's everything that Vote Pro-Choice is all about. We focus on those down ballot candidates, particularly candidates who understand the frame of reproductive justice, which, as you know, is a intellectual policy frame that was developed by Black women academics in the 90s to really say that this is, reproductive rights is great and reproductive health is important and abortion access is important. But what we're talking about is healthy communities and healthy people and access to whether, if, when you want to have children. And if you have children, you want to raise them in a healthy environment. And we really need those candidates who have that perspective. And that's what we do. We focus on endorsing those candidates. We center women of color and Black women as the first people to get our resources and our coaching. And that is one of the reasons why we have so much in common with our candidates, because you and I both know that racial justice, reproductive freedom are deeply, deeply connected. This is about abortion access, but it's about so much more. So our endorsement, I was doing a little research with the team before, and it was very exciting to see that just in the last 2 years, we've shared over 86 endorsed candidates. And I know
that's
from
awesome.
2017 and 2019, we probably have dozens more.
I'm sure, yeah.
And this year together, we're lifting up Tish James, Attorney General of New York, and Lauren Underwood, who's running for Congress, and Jasmine Crockett, who's a Texas House of Representative member who's running for Congress. But we have so many. It's Jennifer Crofoy, Andrea Jenkins, Cori Bush, London Breed, Lucy McBath, Nikema Williams, just so many amazing, transformational, exciting candidates. So I want to hear about your candidates. Your endorsed candidates. What does it really mean for Collective PAC to lift up a candidate, to go all in? And I'd love to hear some stories that you're really proud of.
Yeah, and I want to just touch upon, Heidi, because you just mentioned how so many of these issues collide, and it really is about that intersectionality of reproductive freedom is a fight for racial justice. I love the words of the Honorable Kimberly Crenshaw, who coined the term intersectionality. And she said, this is a lens through which you can see where power comes and collides, where it interlocks and intersects. It's not simply that there's a race problem here, a gender problem here, and a class or LGBTQ problem there. Many times that framework erases what happens to people who are subject to all of these things. And there are so many of us in our community who are subject to all of these things. And the reality is that, even if you're a white woman in Kansas, you too are subject to all of these things, because what happens to your neighbor happens to all of us. And I wish we would understand that more as Americans, that we are so intersected, so interlocked in the issues that we care about, that we champion, and just the way in which we want to live our lives. We all want to be able to have access to great schools, great education for our kids, access to affordable healthcare, access to jobs that are well paying, where we don't have to work three and four jobs, the ability to get transportation to work, to know that when I go over the bridge, it is strong, that it is capable of making sure that this traffic can flow the way it wants. We all want a happy life that's well lived. And what I love about our candidates is that they understand, they live that intersectionality, especially our Black women. To be Black, to be a woman, to be a fighter in your community, means that you are taking on a lot on your shoulders when there's already so much that already lives there. And the champions that you mentioned, like Tish, like Lauren, they are everyday women who have decided to get into the ring to say, I want to better my community through public service. And I always talk about, listen, there's so many laws that need to be changed, but to change the laws, we must change the lawmakers. That means we need to have lawmakers that reflect respect, that represent our communities. And that is why we go deep and we go hard to support our candidates across the country, local, state, and federal level, because last point to what you said, Heidi, so much happens on the local and state level. And we have the ability to determine who our decision makers are going to be, because the decision makers are the politicians. And so if we can work hard to make sure that those are folks that look like the community, that want to see it progress forward, that's what we're going to go all in to do.
Oh, that's exactly right. That is why we're so aligned. Now,
Totally.
do you have a story of any candidates that Collective PAC went all in on that you are really proud of impacting their race?
I actually like to think about the class of the 2018 congressional delegation, if you will, of new folks that signed up to say, hey, I'm going to run for Congress, and I'm a teacher, or I'm a nurse, or, I'm on city council and I've never run for Congress before. And so, when we first had conversations with Lauren Underwood, and she said, I'm going to run for Congress in this majority white district with no previous experience running for office, and people say you can't do it, we were proud to say you can, Lauren, and we will be with you. We will make sure we cut one of your first checks, and then we're going to ask everybody else to cut you a check, because we know how much money matters. I'm proud to say that if you talk to a number of our women, like Lucy McBath, like Johanna Hayes, they'll tell you the Collective PAC was there, early on to make sure that I had the resources available to run my race. If you talk to Stacey Abrams, she'll tell you, when she was saying, hey, I'm going to run for governor of Georgia, folks are like, hey, can't no Black woman be governor of Georgia, but we saw how close she came. And it's because, we made a commitment to our candidates to support them early and often. And so, we are proud of these women, especially in the work that they're doing to change the conversation. And that's really what, and even the confirmation hearings for Judge Jackson, it is a travesty that there's not a Black woman that will be able to give her vote in the U.S. Senate to confirm this Black woman Supreme Court justice. And so we have a long way to go. We know that we're making progress, but having our voice in the room is important, because to not have it in the room means that a lot of perspective is being lost. And so, yeah, I'm proud of all of our candidates, but especially there was something about that group from 2018 that came in and just. Ayanna Presley is a part of that crew, where I'm super, super proud to see where they are now.
Yeah, and we have great Black women candidates that are going to be running for Senate this year. So I'm sure
Yes.
we're going to be co-endorsing a lot of them with you.
Yes. Yes. Absolutely.
And it's so true. These are the transformational leaders, women, men, non-binary people for sure. But,
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
like you, we really look for those folks that are bold and clear. They know who they are. They know what their communities need. And for us around reproductive rights, freedom, and justice, we believe that's a foundational issue.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it is connected so much to freedom, to
Mm-hmm.
against oppression, for well-being, for health. We really appreciate that you have also embraced those principles as well. I mean, I think, if I recall correctly, I think you were the ones that inspired us to get involved in the Lauren Underwood race too. And so together we were able to add power. So that's
Mm-hmm.
another story of how partnership amplifies the infrastructure
Yes.
that's been missing for so long.
So long, too long.
And
Yeah.
still, to this day,
Mm-hmm.
and
To this
still.
day.
Yeah. And so let's talk a little bit about what we think we need right now, right? So you and I are both working on those down ballot races, endorsing candidates, lifting each other up. We're working in partnership as best we can. This is going to be a really challenging year with the continued attacks on voting rights and reproductive rights, as we know, horrible, and you see racism and anti-Semitism and misogyny just lifting up more and more. And it's
Mm-hmm.
not new. We know, you and I both know this is not new. This is just what has always been there,
A
lifting up.
revised playbook.
Yes. And it's like lifting up to be seen. We now have to face the reality of what's been going on since the beginning of this country. So,
Mm-hmm.
but we have a chance to fix it. So, what does that look like for you? Like, what is it that you think we need more than ever?
One of the things I really love about Vote Pro-Choice is that you all make it very plain and you make the work very relatable. And I sometimes think, when people are talking about politics or issues, it can seem so very highbrow. But in the reality, especially when we're talking about reproductive freedom, and I can say this, as a woman, as a mother, who every day I'm like, thank God for helping me every day, because it is no joke to be a mom, to be a working mom, to be, someone that's trying to care for your family, and trying to make your way in the world. And imagine having to do all that when you have to deal with an unwanted pregnancy, when you have to deal with people who are telling you what you should do with your body, right?
Mm-hmm.
But yet, when it comes to other issues like voting rights, people are saying, oh, we got to restrict all this. It is just a crazy society. And so, when we think about, reproductive is health,
Mm-hmm.
and health is wealth. You don't have your health, you don't have your mental health. It is hard to function in this world. And so the fact that, Black women have higher rates of STDs, that we have higher rates of reproductive related cancers, that we have higher rates of unwanted pregnancy. All of that is related to the care that we're able to receive on a day-to-day, on a yearly basis. We know that Black women, unfortunately, are oftentimes at least 50% less insured than their white counterparts. And if you don't have access to health care, then you're not able to make sure that you can be the person in control of your life, because your body is going to go awry. And just a quick personal note, I used to be an STD sex education educator, and I worked primarily in Planned Parenthood facilities and juvenile detention facilities. And to have the experience working within Planned Parenthood offices, I also provided HIV testing, and had to have sometimes the conversations where we told people what their status was. Day in and day out, there were women who were coming in there for their regular checkups. They weren't coming for abortion services, which people only think about Planned Parenthood as abortion services. No, they were coming to make sure they didn't have cervical cancer, or to figure out what to do about their STD. When people wouldn't see them because they didn't have insurance, there was a resource, a place for them to go. This is why, we're fighting to make sure that we have Medicaid be strong, why the Affordable Care Act was so important, why the issues that relate to health and reproductive justice has to be seen in an overall racial justice lens, because Black women especially are disproportionately impacted by every single facet under the realm of reproductive justice. And so, I'm happy that our candidates are carrying that banner, and that just in the world, I think it has become more of a conversation and more of an awakening of, oh, wait a minute, this is a problem. When these states start to restrict your access, this is a problem that will have lasting generational effects. And so I'm excited to be in partnership with you all to keep getting the word out and to have this a part of the cultural conversations we need to have, because the issue is far too important.
I actually didn't know we had that in common. That's where I started too. I was a sex
Oh,
ed
yeah.
in Planned Parenthood of Lincoln, Nebraska. And that's exactly right. It was these are just people that are trying to be healthy, to make a
Yeah.
to take care of themselves, just to be well. And
Mm-hmm.
then I ended up going to the unicameral, working in the unicameral in Nebraska, and seeing all these horrible bills that were starting to get passed. And they
Mm-hmm.
didn't connect to reality.
Didn't connect to reality.
And
Mm-mm.
this is what I am hopeful that the message that we can share to our political friends and the universe is that we are underfunded
Mm-hmm.
with that local state legislative infrastructure, and that we must continue to be focusing on lifting up leaders in those local and state offices, because that's how we ended up here, is by
Absolutely.
failure of providing resources to candidates like we both endorse. And then I don't know about you, but you and I suspect that neither of us have all the resources that we need to do the job.
Not nearly.
And so as we move forward, watching the dismantling of Roe v. Wade and all of the horrible bills that are being passed, the solution here is to elect our candidates.
Absolutely.
And that means that we are going to need everyone out there who is interested in political action or gives money to candidates at any level to give more and to give down ballot, to give
Mm-hmm.
to the Collective PAC candidates, to give to our shared candidates, because if
Mm-hmm.
we want great investment about saving our rights, these are the folks that are going to do it. They're going to make the right
Absolutely.
laws, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. And and we like to say now we want you to vote up the ballot.
Yes.
Like
Yes.
you start at the foundation level, which is your local community. And then you vote up from there, because you know, most of the most of the ways in which laws or policies intersect with our lives come from decisions on the local and state level. It isn't the president that's determining what the curriculum is that your kids are going to have, or what type of, if Medicaid and Medicare is going to be strengthened in your state or not. Or we've seen the power of these state houses, to your point, Heidi, and the fact that we have such a disparity. That's where the major gap is in the state legislatures. We see there's a huge disparity in the representation of low income people, of Black folks, of every demographic, basically, except for white men. We have such a deficit in who's making those decisions. And making a decision comes from a lived experience oftentimes. And so if you don't have that lived experience to be able to bring it to the policy making place, then you're doing your community a disservice. And so please support our candidates, and become a candidate yourself. If you know that you have that commitment to the people, that you want to be able to create the laws that will progress us forward, run for office. You can go to vote pro-choice. You can come to the Collective PAC if you're a Black candidate, and we will be here to support you. But finally, every single dollar matters. Our average contribution is $35. And that money, and a lot of folks give $5 a month. That adds up to resources that our candidates desperately need. But also, you got a couple million, we'll take that too.
Exactly. Yeah, and this is the last in the last few minutes, this is our time to really focus on those asks. Like
Mm-hmm.
you said, if you are a person that believes in reproductive freedom, justice, understands the connection to racial justice, we are here to help you. And I will tell you, there's really nobody better in the United States of America on coaching candidates and getting people elected than Stefanie Brown James.
Oh, thanks.
So, and that is true. So if you are a Black candidate and you want to run for office, go there.
CollectivePAC.org.
Will help.
Yes.
And for us at Vote Pro Choice, we also have the nation's largest voter guide program, where we're very excited to be lifting up all the endorsed candidates of our partners. We have over 170 partners, and Collective PAC has always been one of our number one. So our voter guide highlights all your candidates and all your endorsements. So if you want to make sure that you're voting up the ballot, we have the voter guide for you. So Vote Pro Choice is a great place to sign up to make sure that you know all the Collective PAC candidates wherever you are.
Yeah.
So that is our major call to action. And then, of course, also, there's going to be a lot of action happening this year in all the ways. So we both have action. We have action options. So you sign up Pro Choice, you sign up for Collective PAC, you're going to be able to take action in alignment with your values to support great candidates.
Yes, absolutely. Please. And I love the voter guides that you all produce. They are so helpful, so useful. I'm glad you lifted that up. Also, please go to collectivepac.org, where you can take action. As Heidi mentioned, you can meet our candidates, look at the issues that we support. And also if you want to be endorsed, we do have a process because we want to make sure that the folks who are, coming to us for endorsement are people that believe in progressive values, that they believe in reproductive freedom and so many other issues. So please check out the website. And I'm so grateful to be in partnership. None of us can do this work alone, not an individual or an organization. So I am just so grateful to continue to be in partnership with you, Heidi, and Vote Pro Choice. The work that you are doing is so needed and necessary. And any way we can support you all, we will definitely do that.
Honestly, we just need to keep getting these candidates elected.
Yes.
And vote.
Vote.
And that is what we do together. And we will continue to do that together.
Yes.
So thank you, everyone, for tuning in. And please do make sure that you're signing up for Vote Pro Choice and Collective PAC's work. These are the candidates that have hope. And on the moments of darkness, these are the folks that bring hope to you all. And they will make good decisions, and we can get them elected. So thank you so much, Stefanie, and good luck this year. And we look forward to being in partnership with you on these amazing candidates and all of these voters.
Thank you, Heidi. Same here.
So, and thank you all to those of you who've tuned in today. Hope you all have a good day.